Reclaiming Time, Identity, and Legacy, a conversation with Hadassah Israel. What if I told you that everything you've been taught about time is a lie? What if the calendar you follow, the holidays you celebrate, the very rhythm by which you organize your life was never designed for you? What if it was imposed on you, repackaged, colonized, and sold back to you as truth? Welcome to Soft Girl Era, the sacred space where strong Black women unlearn survival, rediscover softness, and reclaim the joy, rest, and freedom they deserve without guilt, without apology, and without explanation. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French, and I'm your guide from burnout to boundaries, from doing to being, from strong to soft, and loving every second of it. Today, I had the profound honor of sitting down with Hadassah Israel, a visionary who is reshaping how we understand time, identity, and legacy through the lens of scripture and cultural restoration. Hadassah is not just challenging the status quo, they are dismantling centuries of colonized thinking and inviting us back to divine time, back to our authentic identity, back to the rhythms the Most High designed for us. Their work is a spiritual and cultural homecoming, and the insights they shared with me will shake you, wake you, and call you back to who you were always meant to be. Hadassah Israel is leading a revolution, one that reclaims heritage, restores identity, and empowers generations to live in alignment with divine truth, not borrowed systems. Let me be clear. We've been living on borrowed time, literally. The calendars we follow, not ours. The images we worship, not ours. The identities we've inherited, not ours. They were imposed, colonized, repackaged. And we've been so busy surviving, so busy grinding, so busy being strong that we never stop to ask, whose time am I keeping? Whose story am I living? Whose image am I reflecting? Hadassah Israel is asking those questions. And the answers? They're revolutionary. During our conversation, Hadassah shared three core insights that I believe every woman in her soft girl era needs to hear, especially if you've spent your whole life carrying everyone else's expectations and you're finally ready to put that cape down and pick up your crown. First, your story shapes your identity and your community impact. Understanding and reclaiming your narrative, especially as it relates to time, lineage, and faith, empowers you to break free from colonized perspectives and connect more deeply with your purpose and your people. When you know where you come from, when you understand the rhythms you were designed to live by, you stop performing and you start being. You stop surviving and you start thriving. You stop code switching and you start code creating, building a life that reflects the divine blueprint, not the world's broken blueprint. Think about that for a second. How many of us have been living someone else's script? How many of us have been keeping time by someone else's clock? How many of us have been celebrating holidays we don't even understand? Observing traditions that have nothing to do with our faith, our lineage, our ancestors. We've been so disconnected from our true story that we don't even recognize ourselves anymore. And that disconnection, it's not an accident, it's by design. But here's the good news: you can reclaim it, you can rewrite it, you can restore it. And when you do, everything changes. Second, restoring divine time and authentic identity is a spiritual and cultural homecoming. When you align your life, your business, your creative work with the original markers of time and identity found in Scripture, not Western constructs, you rediscover rhythms, values, and a sense of belonging that were always meant for you. This isn't about rejecting modernity. This is about reclaiming what was stolen. This is about saying, I will no longer live by a calendar that erases my heritage. I will no longer celebrate holidays that have nothing to do with my faith. I will no longer accept images of divinity that look nothing like me or my ancestors. This is about coming home to yourself, to your lineage, to your creator. Hadassah Israel is teaching us that divine time is not just a theological concept, it's a lived reality. It's about observing the Sabbath as the Most High commanded, not as the world redefined it. It's about celebrating the appointed times, the feasts, the seasons that were set apart for us. It's about understanding that time is sacred, and when we honor it, we honor the one who created it. And when you step into that alignment, when you start living by divine time instead of borrowed time, you feel it. You feel the shift. You feel the peace. You feel the power. You feel the presence of the Most High in a way you never have before. Because you're no longer living in opposition to your design, you're living in harmony with it. Third, storytelling isn't just personal, it's a tool for legacy and generational transformation. By sharing your journey and your truth, you create emotional connections, you build trust, and you inspire others to see themselves as chosen and radiant, setting the stage for generational wealth, healing, and cultural restoration. Your story is not just yours, it's your children's, it's your community's. It's your ancestors' vindication and your descendants' inheritance. When you tell your story with honesty, with power, with reverence, you break chains, you open doors, you shift atmospheres. Now, let me show you how this plays out in real life because Hadassah didn't just give me theory, they gave me receipts. Let's talk about Camille Dundas. Camille saw a gap. Black entrepreneurs were being ignored by mainstream media. Their stories weren't being told. Their brilliance wasn't being celebrated. Their innovations weren't being covered. And Camille, with her journalism background and her deep understanding of the power of narrative, knew that this wasn't just a media problem. This was an identity problem. This was a legacy problem. This was a generational problem. So what did she do? She didn't wait for permission. She didn't beg for a seat at the table. She built her own table. She launched BuyBlacks.com, a platform that evolved from a simple directory into a full-blown storytelling-driven magazine. And it didn't just provide media coverage, it shaped public perception. It contributed to self-worth. It contributed to healing. It became profitable. It paid contributors. It won awards. But more than that, it empowered Black entrepreneurs to own their stories, to influence their industries, and to build generational legacies through narrative. Camille understood what Hadassah Israel is teaching us, that storytelling is as vital as capital. You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't control your narrative, someone else will write your story for you, and it won't be the truth. Camille's work proved that when you reclaim your narrative, you reclaim your power. When you tell your own story, you shape your own future. And when you do that collectively as a community, you shift the culture. Then there's Jade Ely in Ocean Beauty. Jade didn't just create a beauty brand. She created a cultural restoration project. She named her brand after the Yoruba goddess Oshun. She used natural ingredients tied to African traditions. She infused every product with ancestral wisdom and spiritual connection. And her customers, they didn't just buy lotion, they bought identity, they bought heritage, they bought a sense of belonging. In a crowded beauty market where everyone is competing on price, packaging, and celebrity endorsements, Jade competed on something deeper. She competed on soul, she competed on story, she competed on legacy, and she won. Oshun Beauty became a model for culturally rooted entrepreneurship, and it inspired others to weave cultural restoration into their own businesses, strengthening community pride and spiritual connection. Jade understood that when you restore identity, you restore power. When you honor your lineage, you honor yourself. When you tell the truth about where you come from, you give others permission to do the same. And that permission, that's priceless. That's transformational. That's generational. And let's not forget Dominique Broadway and Somewhere Good. Dominique took financial literacy, a topic that's often seen as boring, exclusive, and intimidating, and she made it accessible, beautiful, and empowering for the Black community. She used bright visuals and relatable storytelling to demystify finance and invite participation. And the result? Users felt empowered to engage with financial education. They broke cycles of exclusion. They started building generational wealth. Somewhere Good became a nationwide resource celebrated for its inclusive and culturally attuned messaging. Dominique understood that visual and narrative storytelling can restore confidence, knowledge, and economic power. She understood that when you change the story, you change the outcome. She understood that financial freedom isn't just about numbers, it's about narrative. It's about believing that you deserve wealth. It's about seeing yourself as someone who can build, invest, and leave a legacy. And she made that belief accessible. She made it beautiful. She made it real. These three women, Camille, Jade, and Dominique, they're living proof of what Hadassah Israel is teaching. They reclaimed their narratives, they restored their identities, they told their truths, and in doing so, they transformed their communities and built legacies that will outlive them. But here's the question Hadassah posed to me, and I'm posing it to you. What would happen if more people, more organizations, more communities adopted this perspective? What would happen if we all shifted from modern Western frameworks to divine time and authentic biblical identity? Hadassah believes, and I agree, that we would experience a profound transformation. We would recover lost rhythms. We would reclaim our spiritual heritage. We would realign with a purpose that transcends colonized narratives. We would foster stronger community bonds. We would increase generational wealth. We would experience a deeper sense of belonging. And we would challenge the systems that profit from historical erasure and misrepresentation. Imagine that. Imagine a world where Black women, Black families, Black communities are no longer living by someone else's clock, someone else's calendar, someone else's image. Imagine a world where we are grounded in divine time, rooted in scripture, connected to our ancestors, and aligned with the Most High's design for our lives. That's not a fantasy, that's a possibility. And it starts with you. So here's what I'm challenging you to do. Take one intentional step this week to reconnect with your true story. Research your lineage, observe time through a new lens, share your journey with others, challenge yourself to see beyond inherited calendars and images. Ask yourself, what did the Most High design for me, and how can I live in alignment with that truth? Because here's the thing, you've been strong for too long. You've been grinding for too long. You've been surviving for too long. And now it's time to come home. Home to softness, home to rest, home to your true identity, home to divine time, home to the rhythms, the values, the belonging that were always meant for you. Hadassah Israel's leading the way. They're bridging the spiritual and the scholarly. They're rooted in scripture, yet relatable, real, because our stories, our struggles, our triumphs deserve to be told with both reverence and raw authenticity. They're not asking you to reject who you are, they're asking you to remember who you were always meant to be. Your story matters. Your identity matters. Your legacy matters. And the time to reclaim all three is now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you finally get your life together. Now, because you are chosen, you are radiant, you are worthy, and you deserve to live in alignment with the truth, not the lie. So I'm asking you today, what are you going to reclaim? What calendar are you going to question? What story are you going to rewrite? What image are you going to restore? What rhythm are you going to return to? Because the world is waiting for you to show up as who you really are. Your community is waiting. Your children are waiting. Your ancestors are waiting. And the Most High has already made a way. All you have to do is walk in it.